Welcome, ADVers, back to game 2 between Kerts and Bushtush, and I'm actually going to switch sides for continuity purposes, as CALLOUS likes to say. Yeah, so game 1 was a fairly even game, in my opinion, for the most part, where Bushtush and Kerts both used Magneton offenses, which are not very common at the moment. The whole archetype, Magneton offense, is actually fairly unpopular in the current meta. Many people would argue that it's even innately flawed. But either way, good showing from both. I thought both teams were interesting, and Kerts did take the game 1, so Bushtush is required to win this, or he is out of. He has no chance of participating in CALLOUS Invitational any further. Again, this is the play-in stage, so both guys are just fighting for a spot in the actual tournament. But Bushtush needs to win this game if he's going to have any chance of keeping that spot alive for himself. So without further ado, let's get right into this, and I'm actually going to switch it to slow. Okay, so Bushtush going to lead T-Tar, and Kerts going to lead T-Tar. So Bushtush T-Tar came in first, and Kerts is going to make the pretty typical play of switching out to Scarm turn 1. Bushtush is actually going to EQ here turn 1, kind of displaying his inexperience with the tier fairly early on. That might give Kerts a bit of a confidence booster. He definitely should have gone out to that Skarmory turn 1. Although now we're seeing taunt, so I'm not sure how useful that would have been. I guess it was one less spike more useful. You don't want to EQ into a Skarmory turn 1. The right play in ADV, it nearly always is to switch out turn 1. So we do see a Zapdos from Bushtush, and we see a Jolteon from Kerts. That's I don't want to say predictable from Kerts, but I mean, it's definitely something, if you're Bushtush, you would consider preparing for. Kerts is known for using Jolteon offense quite a lot. So we're gonna see what Bushtush decides to do here. He does reveal he has Protect Zapdos, so that's definitely gonna help him a little bit. Kerts gonna double into his Caboclo, I'm pronouncing that wrong, but that's T-Tar, and Bushtush makes a ballsy double. He doubles back into Skarmory on what was a Jolteon, so Bushtush intelligently realizes that Kerts is not going to take extra toxic tick damage thunderbolting into something that probably resists Thunderbolt. He was expecting perhaps maybe a Claydol or a Blissey or something to come in. Well, not a Claydol, but maybe a Blissey or a Celebi, some sort of special wall that eats the T-Bolt from Jolteon. But Bushtush very intelligently realized that Kerts was going to switch on that turn, because of course he doesn't want to let his Jolteon get withered down any further. And Bushtush makes a smart move getting back in, knowing very well that getting these spikes up is important, because if you ever see taunt on an opponent's Mon, you'll know that they probably don't have too many ways of getting rid of spikes, and so their plan for I suppose not getting destroyed by spikes over the course of the game is just never letting you get them up. So we're going to see Kerts focus punch now into the Skarm, and he does get a fairly fortunate crit here. So Kerts probably just running leftovers T-Tar with focus punch here, so probably a BKC Tar. And Bushtush reveals Flygon, so his team does seem to be embodying the skeleton of a Superman team here fairly early on. He's going to protect there. I don't know if I like that play. Bushtush is already fairly far behind in this game, and he's actually choosing to protect with his Flygon there, which is a huge momentum loss. He's now going to go back to his Skarmory, which doesn't gain him any momentum at all, and then he's going to taunt the Zapdos. So that was probably a maneuver to get Skarm, replenish its health a little bit, and to try and avoid a toxic, perhaps Bushtush team is toxic weak, but he actually makes a questionable play there. HP ices into the Skarmory, over predicting Jolteon to come in, and gets punished for it. Skarm stays in Zapdos. As many of you may very well know, Skarm does live a T-Bolt from any Zapdos that isn't modest, and I guess he weighed up the odds and said hopefully it's not modest. Blissey here for Bushtush, so even in Superman teams, you will see a couple of grounded mons. The T-Tar and the Blissey here are both going to, they're both not going to appreciate these spikes. So Bushtush gets his Scarm back in after this roar here from Kerts. This may, you know, Bushtush is getting leftovers back on a Scarm, but at the same time, so is Kerts. And if you're Bushtush, what you really want to do is start switching the momentum in your favor now. He goes to Flygon, making a double. That's a weird double. I guess he just doesn't want to take... he doesn't want to accidentally get that brought in, or the Scarm brought in. But either way, we're kind of seeing this circular roar stuff from Bushtush, or from Kerts. Bushtush doesn't really seem to have any way of applying immediate momentum. He goes to Flygon again here. I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve by that, and the Bliss does come in. The Scarm should just be able to taunt the Blissey here and keep wearing it down, and it seems as though Bushtush is going to have a really tough time getting that Blissey back in and healing it up. And it could very well be the case that Kerts has more special offense on that team. You know, could be Gengar, Starmie. It's tough to say at this time, but that Blissey being pretty much out of action is a fairly... It's fairly huge, honestly. Kerts' taunt technique has been very effective so far this game. So we're going to see Kerts make the prediction here to get out of the way of the Zapdos, predicting the Protect to go T-Tar. And again, he gets the better end of Bushtush in that exchange. Of course, now Zapdos going to Protect on the Focus Punch. And here we have a play. I mean, does Kerts want to... Does he want to Focus Punch and try and chip away at the Flygon here? Does he want to Rock Slide, predicting Zap to stay in? Or does he want to switch out to Scarm or something in that kind of, you know, Scarm or something like it to pressure Flygon? We'll see now. Because I'm predicting Flygon to come in here as the dedicated tar counter on Bushtush's team. So we're going to see Focus Punch come in here. I can't speak English at the moment. It hits for 55%, so that's a fairly defensive Flygon. I see how Flygon retaliates here. Skarmory does come in, and Bushtush is going to EQ into the Skarmory. Does not see that one coming. The Skarmory on Kerts' team is not getting chipped at all. It is at full health now. Yeah, Bushtush really needs to start getting into this game, and he's significantly behind here. And Kerts has only revealed 3 Mons. You see a Rock Slide come out. Bushtush knows well that Kerts does not have Toxic on that Skarmory. If he had Toxic there, Bushtush should be prompted to switch, but he's confident that there's no Toxic because of the taunt. And we're going to see Kerts roar out the Zapdos here and actually reveal the Moltres. I don't know why it's not loading. I'm going to pause for a sec. Oh, the image isn't loading. I don't know why. I'm actually I don't like this team that Bushtush is using. I've seen a couple of people use it. I actually made it recently. Tried it out myself. Don't like it. It's too toxic weak, and as you can probably see from this game, it's also incredibly taunt weak as well. Not a team you can be too consistent with. All right, so Kerts does reveal Starmie, and it is going to take 47 from a modest Fire Blast. So we know 2 things from that. We know Kerts is running an offensive Starmie based on that damage, and also Bushtush is running a modest Moltres. Hydro Pump does come out, you know, the obligatory Hydro Pump comes out here, and it does get the miss. That's very unfortunate for Kerts. If you could hit that, I think the game would be pretty much over. So he's going to T-Bolt here. Nice T-Bolt, and we're going to see a Whirlwind from Bushtush. Kerts getting the better end here of practically every exchange so far. So we're going to see Tar come in here. Flygon does come in, and Bushtush very intelligently gets the Flygon in on the Rock Slide. You see how Bushtush manages to shift the momentum here. The Skarmory does obviously come in, and Bushtush is going to EQ again. That's the second time now he's made that play and whiffed on a turn where Kerts actually chose to switch to Skarmory. Bushtush is quite far behind at this point, and he needs to really start hitting the trigger with those turns. He can't afford to keep doing those kind of attacks where he's just losing momentum, because he does have 3 spikes up on his own side, and it's only a matter of time before his team really starts to get broken down. Going to see the Tar come out now, so now we're getting some chip on T-Tar as well. Does it have leftovers? It does not have leftovers. and it does 52 with the rock slide, so I'm fairly sure that that is CB tar. You don't see a whole lot of CB tars around these days, but it's still excellent. We're going to see Scarm come in again, and now, whoa, that's interesting. So Bushtush actually predicted the taunt there. Kerts all over him today, has his number completely, and he actually goes and hits Roar there and brings out the Blissey, which is definitely the intended target, because now, unless barring a freeze, yeah, we're going to see the Blissey go down. This is really, really important for Kerts, because as you can see, he's got a Jolty on there, he's got a Starmie, he's got a lot of special offense on this team. So he's going to Roar out now very intelligently. And Bushtush is finally going to get the Moltres in to do some damage, so we're going to see what he manages to do with that. Will-O-Wisp, actually I'm going to pause right there. Yes, he Fire Blasted here, and that's a misplay. We just go back here to the Moltres turn. Will-O-Wisp here is actually a fine play. Even if Kerts goes Jolteon, you don't really lose any momentum because Jolteon doesn't pressure your team. So Kerts is pretty much never going Jolteon here. He's never going Starmie. That's too important at this stage in the game. It nearly sweeps from here. So he's going to be going between one of Tyranitar or Skarmory, and that being the case, there's just no need for the Fire Blast here. You can actually Will-O-Wisp pretty freely. Kerts does make the bold T-Tar play, and Bushtush actually makes the wrong play here. You could feasibly go for Will-O-Wisp there, and unfortunately for him, he did not have the foresight to see that. And of course now, I'm kind of shocked by that turn, honestly, but Bushtush kind of really clasping its straws here, and he's actually stayed in on the T-Tar there, over predicted, and Kerts goes for the safe play, as you would when you've got 3 layers up. Kerts has absolutely no reason to predict, and just goes for the rock slide. Bushtush making predictions while behind, that's never a recipe for success. You see Gengar here come out on Zapdos. At this point in the game, if you're not aware already, which you probably are, one Ice Punch from Gengar on Zapdos will finish the game, because then Starmie sweeps, barring Hydro miss on T-Tar. So all Kerts needs to do to win this game is to get Zapdos within range of Ice Beam here. And Ice Beam will do about 60%, give or take, to Zapdos, maybe a little bit more, from Starmie, I think. I don't know the rolls off the top of my head. So if this Gengar gets off an Ice Punch, Zapdos will surely be in range, and this game will be over. The Blissey is down, the Skarmory's in range, everything's in range. Flygon obviously dies to Ice Beam as well, so Bushtush is pretty much forced to switch here, otherwise he's going to have to go for a Hydro Miss. So we're going to see Bushtush sack the Blissey here to re-establish some momentum. As we know, he can't let that Zapdos take any damage, so he's forced to sack something here. Now he's down 5-4, if you can't like that. And T-Tar comes in, as we know it's not gaining lefties. It's going to Rock Slide into meta. Kerts reveals that he's running the Kerts special. This is but it's a sample team, actually. It's a very well-known sample team because it's very balanced and it's very easy to learn with. It's the Kerts special. If you're ever playing versus Kerts, you definitely need to be prepared for that team. It's one of his favorites. So Meta is going to outspeed the Skarm here and 2-hit KO, and it's now down to 5-3. And Bushtush seems to be in a position where his chances of continuing in CALLOUS Invitational are almost 0. I don't see how he can overcome the Gengar at this point. This game is almost surely over. Kerts just played so strong in the early game, getting those 3 layers of spikes down, and Bushtush was never really able to re-establish momentum. One of the things I commented on earlier was that this team you see from Bushtush is very toxic weak, but this game has exemplified that it's also very taunt weak. So we're going to see Flygon now, chipping down the Skarmory. Kerts really not too bothered about what happens to this Skarmory at this stage. Not really interested. It's the Zapdos he needs to get damage on, and that's all he's really focused on at the moment. So we're just gonna watch this slow dwindling battle between Flygon and Skarmory. Kerts just basically hoping for any kind of opportunity at all to get the Gengar in and fire off an Ice Punch. See Rock Slide, and we're going to see a Roar. So yeah, so the Zap gets roared out here, and this, barring hacks, should be the end of the game. So Skarm goes down, Gengar does come out as we expected, and really Bushtush can't go to anything here, so this game should just be over. So he does switch actually out of Zapdos in desperation. I'm pretty sure this will not be in any way effective towards Bushtush having a chance of winning this game. The T-Tar is not gaining lefties, as we know, to add insult to injury, and so there's just no hope of Bushtush coming back here. And we do actually see the HB Grass tech here from Gengar to facilitate the T-Tar Metagross combo by helping with the helping to chip Swampert. That's why that's there. So more than likely now this game is just over. Yeah. Okay, so there was actually a T-ball crit, so there was actually some hacks. That's what Bushtush should have gone for earlier, but it does not matter because now Starmie outspeeds, the Zapdos is in range, and this game is over. And thus the series. An early 2-0 for Kerts. He put in a fantastic performance in game 1, where he made an unbelievable comeback with Aerodactyl. And now he's actually put in another clinic here, game 2. Incredibly strong early performance in this tournament by Kerts. He is one of the quintessential dispellers of kind of the trope that ladder was not, the ladder players were not up to par as far as tournament players were. But when we see ladder players and tournament players collide, often the guys on top of ladder are actually just as good, if not better in many cases, than the top tournament players. They show basically that they can hang out and play at a high level with these guys. And Kerts is ladder born, ladder forged, and as you can see, he's taking out a Smoke on Vet in Bushtush. Probably not particularly strong in ADV. Bushtush known for other tiers, but I'm sure that there's a future here for him, knowing how good he is. SBL player, year in, year out. Either way, this game goes to Kerts, who is advancing to the second round of the bracket that he's in for the play-ins. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you again in the next one.